I mean, there are a lot of reasons to stop the climate crisis. One of them is to protect places that look like this. So welcome to Climate Solutions Road Trip, where we're going from coast to climate solutions. My name is Radlyn Oakes, and I'm one of your guides here on this journey. I'm a meteorologist and a climate journalist. I'm going to ask the hard-hitting questions, and I'm going to show you the changemakers and ideas that are already shaping our world into something a little bit better. I'm going to ask people, how can we fix this mess that we've got ourselves into? And what cool climate solutions are already happening right now. So come along for the ride. The science is clear. We're out of time for half measures. But this isn't a story about disaster. You're not on that channel. It's a story about opportunity, because climate solutions exist. And we're going to find them. Today, though, we are talking about what the transition could look like and what clean energy really means. According to the World Meteorological Organization, there's a 70% chance that the 5-year average warming for 2025 to 2029 will be more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. To avoid the worst impacts, we need to rapidly cut emissions or pull the emergency brake, so to speak. I know we say this a lot. The race to net zero is underway, but honestly, it won't be won by one country alone. To limit global warming to 1.5 degrees, we must transform the entire world's energy, industry, and infrastructure. And we must do it justly. This is what this episode's about. This means investing in people and communities, not just profits and technology. And it also means global cooperation, knowledge sharing, and a fair distribution of resources.
The clean energy is moving fast, and faster than many people realize. I give you one number. Just beginning of 2000, so 2001, the share of wind plus solar in the global electricity generation was 0.25%. So 0.25% in the year 2001. And this 0.25% in 3 years of time will reach to 25%. It's a huge growth from 0.25 to 25%.
The International Energy Agency estimates the world needs over $4 trillion USD in annual clean energy investments by 2030 to meet climate goals. That's nearly triple today's levels.
I did read a really great report from Boston Consulting Group this year. I made a note of it, so I'm going to make sure I get it right. But basically, if we invest in climate mitigation, transitioning our energy away from fossils towards renewables, increasing efficiency, we actually lose a lot of energy, in the grid, just to it being an old grid. It's they're just, 20% of whatever just evaporated of the energy that was transmitted. Cool. So if we made that more efficient, it would be about a 1 to 2% cost to global GDP. So if we did that, it would cost about $1 trillion, give or take, by 2050. But it would create avoided losses of 11 to 24% of global GDP. So if we don't do anything on climate, we're going to just lose up to a quarter of the economy, the global economy, due to lost agricultural yields, other kinds of damages. Yeah, fun times. Or we can just do the right thing. And, there's never any better way to say to do the right thing other than to make a business case for it. And I think Boston Consulting Group, PwC, Deloitte, all these kind of big, accounting firms who do consulting, they've all really underscored how it makes business sense to do the right thing. And ultimately, it's only a handful of companies and very specific industries that truly benefit from us continuing down this path.
The path to a sustainable future is clear. By embracing a just transition, we can address the climate crisis while promoting equity and economic growth.
You know, a lot of folks are like, oh, we can't just have an energy transition. Like, we need to have a justice-focused energy transition. And how do we achieve a just energy transition is like, it's complicated, in a word. And it really depends on wealthy nations, which when I say wealthy nations, I include China in that. It's the world's second largest economy. Wealthy nations have to like be the bellwethers here in terms of sharing the wealth and sharing the technology and promoting best practices around mining. So if one were to break it down into 3 areas, you know, obviously we need money. So climate finance, tech transfers, which not a lot of folks do a lot of work on tech transfers, but basically who controls the technology? Like everything's proprietary. It's like a thing we don't really think about in our day-to-day, but I think, what is it? About 80% of the technology we have is already, to achieve net zero, already exists in the world, but the lion's share of that technology is held by wealthy nations, which means that there's these additional financial barriers to entry for developing countries to access things like renewable energy, whether it's wind or solar, or battery storage, and critical resources, which, I mean, again, I think we don't, in our day-to-day, as just people who aren't in the energy climate space, maybe we don't always think about it, but like, we will need more of all the critical resources. There's like anticipated to see about up to 8 times increase for some critical resources in demand by 2050 if we're going to achieve net zero goals. The good news is, unlike fossil fuels, which we mine, burn, and then like lay waste to land and whatever other horrible things, to say nothing of like the climate impacts of fossil fuels, of course, but we can actually recycle critical resources forever. They're all metals. We just need to up our recycling capacity. If there's one thing we're really good at as human beings, it's being ingenious and finding new ways to solve problems.
Technology transfer is one of the most overlooked but essential elements of climate justice. New innovations in battery storage, EV production, carbon capture, and clean hydrogen are transforming economies. But many lower-income nations lack access to the patents, the infrastructure, and the training needed to benefit. From smartphones to solar panels, the world runs on minerals like lithium, cobalt, copper, and rare earth elements. But mining them can come at great cost to people and the planet.
Fossils at every stage, they create emissions, and it's finite. All these things are finite resources. There's only so much of it. But once we burn fossils, you know, energy can either be like, can't be created. It has to be used, right, in some way. So once it's used, it's done. It's in the air. It's warming the planet. Whereas with critical resources like lithium-ion batteries, all these things are powering our future, our hoped and desired future. You know, we're not expelling emissions. There are no emissions. So it's really just a question of, okay, well, what's the life cycle of this? Once we have mined it, now what's the life cycle? And it's pretty amazing that since it's metals we're talking about, 100% of it can be recycled. There's not like any waste, really, other than the glue components and whatever plastic that's involved. So I would say to someone who's thinking, oh, like, should I buy an EV versus, you know, an electric car? I think we like to equate these things down to our individual choices, but at the end of the day, it's governments and policy that really sets the agenda. We as individuals can only do so much. And, you know, access is on accessibility. So if somebody is able to afford an EV, great. If they have charging infrastructure around them, wonderful. But if they live in a place where there isn't the infrastructure, so they can't really, the usefulness isn't there in terms of how they live their lives.
A truly just transition puts people at the center, especially those historically excluded from decision making.
People ask me this question a lot, like, what can I do? Do you have the panacea for me of what I can do? I'm like, we really need everybody to do sustainability as imperfectly as they can, right? Not eating meat a day or two a week has a huge impact on your personal, again, I do think there is a bigger role for governments to play here than just us as individuals. But if folks thought about the things that they use in terms of the life cycle, then maybe they would purchase less plastic stuff.
Limiting warming to 1.5 degrees requires rapid, far-reaching transitions in energy, land, and urban infrastructure, as well as industrial systems. One where no community or country or person is left behind. One where clean technologies are shared. One where the raw minerals for our future are sourced with ethics, equity, and environmental integrity. So let's work together to ensure that we move towards a greener economy, and we do so inclusively and fairly.